Hey everyone, this video is going to cover topic 3.6, which is selecting an experimental design. We're going to hopefully explain why a particular design is appropriate. All right, so let's just recap the three designs that you'll need to know for the AP exam. Okay. The first one is a completely randomized design. The second is block designs, and the third is the match pair design. And so we're going to cover them in that order. So when should you use a completely randomized design? Well, I would use this design if I had no prior knowledge about my subjects, right? I didn't know anything about my subjects. All I know is the treatments that I want to test and the outcome I want to measure, and that's it, okay? But my subjects, I know nothing about them, okay? This is kind of the default design to use, right? Just assuming we know nothing about our subjects. If we do know something about our subjects, then it might be a good idea to use a randomized block design. For instance, now I know the gender of my subjects, and I suspect that maybe gender might play a role in how effective the treatment is, right? This drug X at 325 milligrams, right? Maybe I suspect that the drug might be more effective for men than it is for women, or vice versa. Maybe I suspect the drug is more effective for women. Okay? So if I know something about my subjects beforehand, and I suspect that what I know might affect how the treatment works, then I should do a block design. I should separate my subjects first, and then carry out the same experiment within each subgroup. Okay. So it's like I'm running two parallel experiments now at a smaller scale. Right. When would I want to use a match pairs design? Well, if I know a lot about my subjects beforehand, now might be a good time to do a match pairs design. Because if I know a lot about my subjects, then I can pair them up with somebody who's pretty similar to them, right? If I know my subjects' gender, and maybe I know their age and their weight and their height and their race, right? I can find somebody else that's similar to them and then pair them up. And so now one subject in each pair is going to get the treatment and the other subject is going to get the control. Okay. Best case scenario is every subject in the study has an identical twin. Okay. And then of course forming the pairs would be very easy, right? Each person would be paired with their twin. Another way that you can carry out a match pairs design is if your experiment is one where the subjects can actually receive both treatments. Okay. And the way this would happen is you'd have to obviously run the experiment over two different time periods, right? During the first time period, subjects receive one treatment, and during the second time period, they receive the other treatment. And then the order that they receive them is different. All right, so let's just give a little bit of context to this diagram here. So let's suppose the treatment is meditation, the control is nothing, and the outcome that we're going to compare is anxiety level or stress level, right? So we want to do an experiment to see whether meditating can lower stress. Okay. So our first subject receives meditation during the first week of the experiment, and then they report to us their stress level at the end. And then during the second week of the experiment, we tell them not to meditate, and again, they report their stress level. So we have two measurements. We have a pair of measurements per subject. Okay. Subject number 2, you can see, has done things in the opposite order. The subject got the control during the first week, so they didn't do any meditation, and they got the treatment during the second time period, and so they meditated. Right? And then we would just repeat that process for all of our subjects. Okay. Not every experiment can be done in this way. All right. There are some experiments where you just cannot give subjects both of the treatments. They have to get one or the other. But in cases where subjects can receive both treatments and you can do it maybe over different time periods, that's most likely how it's going to play out, then you can do a match pairs design where each subject is essentially paired with themselves, right? They serve as their own copy or their own duplicate or their own pair. So kind of the general trend is, it's really about what do you know about your subjects? If you know nothing about them, then just do a completely randomized design. If you know a little bit about them, right, then that information you have, you can use that to create the blocks or create the subgroups. Okay. And if you know a lot about them, then you can pair them up with someone who's similar, or in this case, pair them up with themselves.